Good morning, everybody, and welcome to my channel, Rocky Mountain Gardens. Today, we're going to be looking at the color pink. So, are you a lover of that color? Is it one of your favorites? If so, this is probably a garden video for you, because in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you beautiful pink flowers that are perennials, which means you know that you can plant that flower and it will grow back each season. And perennials are wonderful because each year they normally grow larger and have more blooms to offer you. And so perennials are a little bit of an investment, but they're worth the money for future garden beauty. And therefore, let's take a look at all of the pink flowers that I have either grown myself or plan to try in my garden very soon. So let's get going on this list. And it's a great shopping list for you, especially for next spring. And you know, gardeners, we like to think about gardening all year round. And so that's what we're going to be doing, and create a shopping list for yourself, for your own backyard. Let's begin with 4 examples of pink flowers that can grow in the shade. And we'll start with this beautiful astilbe. It comes in varying shades of pink and does do well in the shade. I think it is a midsummer or early summer bloomer. Although I have seen astilbe growing beautifully in other gardens, I myself have had trouble with it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a try, because we all find that happens with different plants in our gardens. Virginia is a lovely ground cover and spreads nicely. It does have early spring blooms growing on a thick stalk, and it has the nickname of pig squeak because if you take the leathery leaves between your fingers and rub them together, it will make a squeaking sound like a pig. Luxuriant fern leaf bleeding heart is one of my all-time favorites. It is a very long blooming perennial and has these beautiful pink blooms that virtually last all summer if you keep it deadheaded. Unlike the old traditional form of bleeding hearts, which die back after they bloom, this one gives you continuous bloom. Isn't that fantastic? Forget-me-nots are a lovely shade plant which commonly come in a blue color, but this variety, which is called Victoria Rose forget-me-nots, is a pink shade and perfect for your shade garden. Now we are moving on to sun-loving perennials that have a pink color, and there are many more of these sun-loving plants to pick from than the shade. So I have a total, I believe, about 15 flowers here to share with you, and I hope you find something that suits your fancy. For very early spring pink blooms, you cannot go wrong with tulips. And tulips come in varying shades of pink as well. So you have many types of tulips to pick from for your garden. Just don't forget that the planting time for bulbs is actually in the fall to bring you those lovely spring blooms. Next we have creeping phlox, which is also an earlier spring bloomer and gives these bright pink shades added to your sunny garden to bring on the happy days of summer. Now for hollyhocks. This is a flower I plan to try in my garden this next summer. And hollyhocks are called biennials. This means that they really only live for 2 years. And so it's a little bit tricky, but let me explain. Hollyhocks, the first year, will grow their roots and focus on establishing roots. And the second year, they'll grow a very tall, in the case of hollyhocks, a very tall flower stalk with many flowers on it. and then it will die, and that will be the end of that plant. But hollyhocks are very good seed producers. So if you don't cut the stalks back and leave them stand over the winter and allow the seeds to fall to the ground, you will get new plants the next summer. And that is the cycle of a biennial plant. Now let's move on to Oriental, or sometimes called Asiatic lilies. These lilies can be very, very fragrant and make wonderful cut flowers for your home. I started with a picture of the stargazer lily here for you to see. It is extremely fragrant, and the lilies always turn their faces up toward the sun, hence their name, stargazers. And secondly, another type of lily that is quite popular and comes in many shades of pink are called rose lilies. Now, these lilies are a little different than your traditional oriental lily in that their stamens are not visible because they have many more petals than the orientals do. And so they almost have a rose shape. Hardy hibiscus flowers are tougher than your tropical hibiscus, and they can do well in zone 5 gardens. I have tried to grow them in my garden unsuccessfully, but if you have a little warmer climate like zone 5, I think you might like to have this tall growing plant because it is spectacular and there are so many pink shades to pick from. Of course, we cannot talk about pink flowers without mentioning roses. And roses come in many, many varieties that offer the pink color. This particular one is a very successful rose for me in my garden called All Dressed Up. It is just delightful. But look and see what roses you might have to purchase in your area, and be sure to add at least one to your garden. Like roses, there are many varieties of pink clematis that you can add to your garden collection. And Nellie Moser is just one. One of the tricks I've learned about clematis is that they like to have their feet in shade, so something planted in front of the base of the plant, but they like their vines to be in the bright sun to get the most blooms. You may have noticed that there's a trend here, but many, many plants that are perennials come in different varieties that offer you different shades of pink. And that is quite true, as you can see with this lovely peony that is in the photo here. If you have watched others of my garden videos, you might have noticed that I often talk about my Joe Pye weed. Now, if you have an ugly fence or just want to have a tall plant for the back of your perennial border, then Joe Pye weed is really a fantastic plant to go to. It dies back in the winter and needs to be cut back, but it comes back every spring faithfully, has very few problems with disease, and it's a very vigorous grower. And it does spread. It does get to be in a bigger patch, but of course you can control it if you want to keep it in a smaller area. I personally love letting it to spread and disguise my fence line. Next, we have a really fabulous and interesting flower called Monarda. The common name is bee balm. You may have heard of that. I love this plant because of the unusual flowers, and also it is one of the best attractors for pollinators and for hummingbirds in your backyard. So you might want to consider planting this. Now, it does come in reds and purples as well, but I do recommend adding pink Monarda to your plant shopping list for next season. Next, we have Jupiter's beard, or it is sometimes called valerian, which is a lovely plant with delightful pink colors, and you may want to add this. I must tell you, it does self-seed and cause there to be quite a few volunteers around your garden. Now, if you're like me and you want inexpensive plants for your garden, that's a good thing. And you can dig up any new baby plants in the spring that might have cropped up and put them in a new place in your garden to add additional pink color. Looking for some ground cover plants with pink flowers? Well, let's start with this first one, pink ice plant. An ice plant, like many, has other colors of flowers, but just look for a pink variety because it has been very hardy and it does spread and offers shockingly pink color during the sunny part of the day. Now, this next plant, which is called wine cups or poppy mallow is another common name, offers a bright pink color and does spread along the ground, so it can actually act as a ground cover. What I like about poppy mallow is they do have a shape of a little wine cup, and guess what? They open up in the bright sunlight and then close as the sun goes down. Very cute flowers. Don't you just love this cute pink color of the Red Rocks penstemon? It is a midsummer bloomer and has the advantage that if you do deadhead it and keep it deadheaded, it will rebloom for you later again in the summer, which is always a wonderful quality. Looking for a late summer bloomer? Well, Sedum Autumn Joy is for you. It starts with this light pink color that you see on the left photo, and as the fall progresses, it turns a deeper burgundy shade. And it's just wonderful, one of the last blooming flowers in your garden, so it will keep you happy as the fall approaches. Last but not least, we have Rose Campion. I love this biennial-like flower because it reseeds all over the place and brings beautiful hot pink flowers to my garden. I do like the foliage as well because it has sort of a grayish green color, which is more unique in the flower families and adds that foliage color that's a little different to your garden as well. I really recommend it. It has been a faithful bloomer with no disease problems, and it's a great one to add once more to your next flower shopping list. My friends, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for coming by to join me learning about pink flowers in your garden. And I hope to see you again very soon. Have a lovely, lovely day. This is Mary saying bye for now.